Alright, gather round, because I've got a Halloween story that still gives me chills. But stick with me, because the ending is not what you'd expect. It was a few years back. My friends and I were way too old for trick-or-treating, so we decided to up the ante. We rented an old, isolated farmhouse for a weekend-long Halloween party. The centerpiece of our plan? A massive, property-wide scavenger hunt. But this wasn't just any scavenger hunt. It was themed around a local legend about a phantom farmer who supposedly haunted the land. We hid clues in the creepy old barn, the spooky woods, even the root cellar. Our grand prize was a ridiculous, over-the-top trophy we'd all pitched in for. The game started just as the sun went down. The atmosphere was perfect fog rolling in, a harvest moon hanging in the sky. Everyone was laughing, screaming at fake spiders, and having a blast. I was teamed up with my friend, Liam. We were competitive, so we were racing through the clues. The first few were easy, leading us from a scarecrow in the cornfield to a rusty pitchfork hanging in the barn. But then, things started to feel off. The clues, which we had written ourselves, seemed to be changing. One clue we'd left under a loose floorboard now had an extra line scrawled on it in what looked like mud. He is watching. We laughed it off, thinking one of our friends was just trying to mess with us, to add to the fear factor. It was Halloween, after all. The next clue led us to the edge of the woods. It was supposed to point towards an old well. But when we found it, the paper was torn, and a new clue, written on a piece of birch bark, was in its place. It simply said, "Don't trust the scarecrow." We looked back at the field, and the scarecrow we'd passed earlier seemed closer. Again, we brushed it off. Paranoia. Good stagecraft. By our friends. The final clue was supposed to be in the root cellar. As we descended the creaky wooden stairs, the door slammed shut behind us, plunging us into darkness. Panique set in. We fumbled for our phones, our flashlight beams cutting frantically through the dusty air. We cut it out, but there was no answer. We were trapped. That's when we heard Ita's slow, rhythmic scraping sound coming from the far corner of the cellar. Liam and I were pressed against the door, totally freaking out. The scraping got louder, closer. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. This wasn't a game anymore. We were yelling for help, banging on the door, convinced the phantom farmer was about to get us. The scraping stopped right outside the cellar door. We held our breath, waiting for the inevitable. Then, the door creaked open. Standing there, silhouetted by the dim light from the house, wasn't a phantom. It was my friend Sarah, holding a garden hoe and laughing so hard she was crying. Behind her, the rest of our friends were doubled over, barely able to breathe. It turns out, they'd planned a second-level prank within our scavenger hunt. They had a walkie-talkie system, followed us, changed the clues, moved the scarecrow, and timed the cellar door slam perfectly. The scraping sound? It was Sarah dragging the hoe along the stone floor. They had totally played us. After the initial chicane, maybe a little bit of anger, we couldn't help but laugh. It was the most elaborate, terrifying, and brilliant prank ever. We never did find that last clue for the trophy. Instead, we all just went back inside, shared the story, and declared the pranksters the true winners. It went from the scariest night of my life to one of the most memorable. It just goes to show, sometimes the biggest scares come from the people you least expect. And honestly, it was the best Halloween ever. Thanks for listening to my crazy story. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more. I'd love to hear about your own Halloween pranks gone wrong in the comments below. Stay safe and have fun out there.